fourth Dzogchen Rinpoche's life according to Tulku Thondup. I have been reading his book since I think this biography is very relevant to right now, and maybe we'll know why when I finish. But yes, the fourth Dzogchen Rinpoche, Mingyur Namkhe Dorje, was one of the most amazing and eccentric adepts, one who possessed clairvoyance and had no discrimination between a lot of things like up and down, even during one of the lungs for and explanations of the Ushnisha Vijaya sadhana, a Sakya monk was saying like a lot of our concepts of tall, short, skinny, fat is like not that relevant for our spiritual growth. However, because of our own attachment, we associate a lot of importance to these concepts. And part of Vajrayana is for us to see through that. He was born in 1793 in the Dan Valley. His father was Sonam Rapten, a chieftain of Rakho, and his mother was Namkatsin Wangmo. In prophetic verses, Jigme Lingpa pinpointed where the fourth Dzogchen Rinpoche would be found, and also the third Dzogchen Rinpoche himself indicated where he would be born in his next reincarnation. From infancy, while beating a drum, he kept saying the Guru Rinpoche mantra, Om Ahom Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hom, and repeating the word Dzogchen. At the age of 7, he demonstrated his recollections of his past life before many great lamas, and amid great joy, he was ceremoniously brought to and enthroned at Dzogchen Monastery by the monks of Dzogchen Monastery and the Dege Palace. Namkha Tsewang Chokdrup of Jaro Monastery performed the ceremonial cutting of his hair and gave him the name Jigme Khyentse Wangchuk. He received many transmissions from the third Nima Trakpa Mingyur Pende. In particular, he received Khandro Ningtik, Sangwa Ningtik, and Dorsum Ningtik transmissions from Namkha Tsewang Chokdrup, and he accomplished various trainings. From the age of 12, every year for 7 years, he remained in strict retreat for at least 6 months. He received teachings and transmissions from Namkha Tsewang Chokdrup, the first Dodrup Chen, Cheo Rigzen Chenmo, the third Shechen Rabjam, the first Shechen Gyaltsap, Kenshin Rigzen Zangpo, Gyalwe Nyuku, Jigme Notsar, and Gyaltse Shinpen Taye. At the age of 20, Dzogchen Rinpoche went to see Dodrup Chen again at Yarlong Pemako. With Do Khyentse, Dzogchen Ponlop, and about 60 others, he received many transmissions, including Nintik Yapshe, Ju Chodun, Dhamchö Dechen Lamchuk, and Nyenju Dorje Tsampa. Okay, so Her Eminence Kandrola Tseringma was explaining, I think, the Tibetan word Ju in one of her lectures at Tushita Monastery from maybe 13 or 12 years ago, and it was such a special karmic connection because I was also there, even though the person lecturing wasn't as accomplished. But it's nice to know that, you know, certain events happened in a place that you were, and then so you can connect to the energy of that place with your memory a bit better. One day, Dodrup Chen gave a skull cup full of beer to Dzogchen Rinpoche. Being a monk, he had never tasted alcohol before, but he took it because it was a blessing from a lama. By drinking it, the realization of Dodrup Chen was spontaneously transferred into Dzogchen Rinpoche, and he attained the state of Chonying Zepa, the dissolution of the perceptions of relative phenomena into the absolute nature. Thereafter, Dzogchen Rinpoche became the most renowned adept who knew everything and made no discrimination. He had no hope for good or fear of evil. There was a popular saying, the impact of other people's alcohol wears off, but the impact of Dodrup Chen's alcohol never does. So this is from the first Dodrup Chen. At the beginning, the authorities of Dzogchen Monastery were upset with Drolma for transforming Dzogchen Rinpoche into a person who had lost all diplomatic and administrative skills, which were thought to be very important qualities for presiding over a great monastery with many branches. But later, realizing the greatness of Dzogchen Rinpoche's spiritual wisdom and power, they all became more grateful. At the age of 22, he went to central Tibet on a pilgrimage. He met with the 9th Dalai Lama, who was a distant cousin of his. He went to all the important sacred places and made offerings and did meditation. He received teachings and transmission from Longchen Ronpa, Terchen Dawe Wilzer, Kardo Choki Dorje, Chakla Tuksei of Dorje Chak, Trizen Pema Wangyal of Mindroling, and Chakzam Chokdu. He was given full monastic ordination by Temo Regent Lobsang Tsupten Gyaltsen. He gave teachings and transmissions all the time to anyone who came to request them. Sometimes he would explain the most difficult texts very clearly in detail. But at other times he would teach even easy texts in a way that had nothing to do with the real meaning. Sometimes during ceremonies, after he began playing the hand drum, someone would have to hold his hands and take the hand drum away, or else he wouldn't stop, as he was beyond ordinary discrimination. One day he was invited to a grand ceremony in another valley. He was sitting on a high throne and the best kinds of food were being served. He suddenly said, "I'm not going to eat." His attendants pleaded with him and said, "Please eat something, otherwise our hosts will feel bad." After eating the meal, he said, "Now I am going to die." People were shocked and asked why. He said, "The food was poisoned. I didn't want to eat, but you asked me to. Now I have to die." People then said, "Shall I expel it?" No, people requested him to do something to avoid this, for he had the power. Then he said, "Shall I expel it?" People begged, "Yes, please." Then on the throne itself, he expelled it, and he survived without even getting sick. For many years, he went to the Dege Palace every third year to teach and preside over an important ceremony. Then, at the age of 50, in 1842, when he was leaving the monastery for Dege, his foot slipped on the threshold and he uttered a typical local expression of irritation. "May I never set foot on you again." And then he added, "Oh yes, I won't have to anyway." Then in Dege, the night before the beginning of the 7-day ceremony, he kept talking in his sleep. But people only caught one phrase. Gonla, the performer of the Dharma Palace ceremony, flew away. Gonla flew away. The next day, he said, "I have to go back. Dege was benefited by my presence, and Dzogchen Monastery needs me." He wouldn't say anything more, and his attendants requested him to stay, as this was an important ceremony for the Dege Palace and the kingdom. Then, for a few days, they got the news that Dzogchen Monastery had almost been totally destroyed by an earthquake in which many died. Gonla, about whom he had been talking, was thrown some distance and survived with a broken leg. So when he was dreaming, he was getting a premonition or intuition of this event. Then the generous support of Dege and other patrons helped Dzogchen Rinpoche to rebuild the monastery and made it even grander than before. Then, under the guidance of Dzogchen Rinpoche, the personal and the supervision of Shechen, a monastic scripture college, Sri Simha, was established. It would later become a model institution in the Nyingma world. Gompo Namgyal captured Dzogchen Monastery with his force. Ponlop instructed Dzogchen Rinpoche to say how great the chieftain was, how poor Dzogchen Monastery was, and so on. When the chieftain came to Dzogchen Rinpoche, he repeated everything as he had been taught. Then he added, "That is what Ponlop taught me to tell you." And then he gave all the true details of Dzogchen Monastery. The chieftain asked, "Where will I take rebirth?" Dzogchen Rinpoche said, "In hell." Instead of being offended or confiscating the property of the monastery, the chieftain left with an offering of a silver brick to Dzogchen Rinpoche with the request, "Please take care of me when I die." However, when it was not proper to reveal things, he was able to hide them. One morning he said, "Last night someone stole the gold top of the banner in the assembly hall. People rushed to check and found that it was true. They requested him to tell who had done it. He said, 'I know him.' While the thief was climbing down with the gold top, he almost fell down, and he prayed to me, saying, 'Oh, Mingyur Namkye Dorje.' I saved him. However, I'm not going to tell you, for if I tell, you will punish him." There is no information in this book about how he passed on, but that is our story of Buddhism for today. And similar events have also been retold to me by one very great imam of the California mosque, and I'm very grateful for a lot of his lectures. He often praised Mahatma Gandhi, even though they are of different religious backgrounds. And whenever I listen to him speak, I feel very like organized, because the way they talk is like practiced through many generations, and they have a certain cadence in which you are turning yourself towards pious practice in general. And of their founder, there are similar stories in which he also knew of certain people who would betray him, but then he chose to not punish them. And so that is the connection that I see in this context. So I hope you guys can benefit. Sarva Mangalam.